Nigeria has fully repaid the $3.4 billion emergency loan it secured from the International Monetary Fund in April 2020 under the Rapid Financing Instruments, The facility was drawn to cushion the economic shocks of the COVID-19 pandemic and the oil price crash. The IMF confirmed the full repayment as of April 30th, 2025, but noted that Nigeria will still be liable for approximately $30 million annually in special drawing rights charges. Muktar Mohammed, CEO of Finance with Muktar, is with us now for the conversation. Good morning, Mr. Muktar.
Good morning. My pleasure to be on your program.
Yes, always a pleasure to have you here. Good news, I assume. Are we welcoming it? What's your reaction to this news?
Well, I always say that when you give somebody a loan, you know that the person can be able to pay his good reputation. And that is why I keep saying that international organizations will keep giving Nigerian loans because they know we can pay. We have the ability to pay. But the challenge is what we are paying is now affecting us domestically in terms of doing some infrastructural project. But again, it's good news. Makes a lot of international donors wants to give you more money. But again, you have to be careful, but I think it helps our international reputation.
Yes, I was going to
know that we're able to pay as when due.
I was going to get to that, right? What does this do for our international image? It's great PR, I'm assuming.
Wonderful PR. Like the CBN governor have been saying that some of the challenges that we are having was because they are paying some outstanding debt servicing, and we saw that affect the reserve. But like I said, that's good PR. But again, it does its impact on our local economy and our exchange rate, on our cost of living and everything. So that's where the challenge is. But it's good that we're able to pay and then give us room to want to collect more if we really want to. But I don't think it's time for us to begin to think of that. But it's good PR that we are able to pay.
So there are questions around why we took the loan in the first place. How important was it that we took this rapid financing instrument? And judging by how it was disbursed, what we used it for, what's your assessment of the support or relief that it granted Nigeria during that COVID-19 pandemic and oil price crash period?
Well, in terms of what it helped in Nigeria, I can't really say, because again, if you go through those COVID-19 times, you see that there were a lot of things that were wrong. Some of these funds find their hand into private pockets, and you remember warehouses that were also looted again because of most of these what was supposed to be like palliative were kept in those places and were not used for the right people. It became a political tool. But for me, that's where the challenge was. But again, you can't say it didn't help in stabilizing the Nigerian economy in one way or the other. I think it did, especially in terms of the most vulnerable at that time, and also in the area of containing the spread of the COVID-19 pandemics. We did very well in that area, and I think that fund really did help us. If we're palliative, we're able to get to some homes. They were not going out, and because at that time everybody was supposed to be indoor, and it helps them to keep them indoor and stop the spread of the pandemic. If not for that, I think maybe the spread will be much. But by and large, you can say, okay, fine, it helped, but it would have done better if you look at the history after the pandemic, knowing that some warehouses were still having palliatives that were looted, and some of them were even to be sold to Nigerians.
$3.4 billion. We know that the devil is in the detail. According to the IMF, Nigeria is still making annual payments of approximately $30.24 million for SDR-related charges annually. What's that about, and for how long will we continue to pay that amount?
Well, I think the World Bank the IMF did not tell us how long we have to pay that amount. They're silent about that. But all I know, they said they're going to do those payments in the next 4 tranches. So hopefully, I think we'll do it maybe as comfortable as it is for us, depending on our agreement with them. We need to hear from them what the payment plan is, or is it us that will come up with the payment plan? If you look at it, taking about 30 million out of Nigerian foreign reserve every year. If we have to do that yearly, it's going to be very huge. So definitely that means we have to earn more money. but we have our challenges with low oil price and other challenges. So it's going to be very tough to be able to service $30 million yearly. But again, if you look at COVID at 2020, and today we're in 2025, and we're able to pay 3.4 billion. So that shows that this could just be a little. It might not be so challenging, because if you can pay 3.4 billion within 5 years, then 30 million annually would just be a child play.
Well, I mean, like you have said, it does give us some level of credibility, gives us the ability to collect more loans. But what does that say about, I mean, what does it say about how we negotiate our loans, the interest that we pay, the amounts we pay to service the loans? Nigeria is spending 70 to 80% of its revenue servicing these kind of loans. So, I mean, shouldn't there be changes in how we negotiate when we're acquiring some of these loans?
I tell you, you hit the nail. That is what I think we should start doing. But the challenge is that sometimes when we go for these loans, we don't even go in there with the staff professionals, the politicians that go in, negotiate this loan, or civil servants. And all they think about is, well, how can we get that loan to do whatever we want to do, rather than looking at, okay, what are those charges? How are they going to affect our economy? How are we going to pay? Is there any other way that we can bring it down? I'll give you an example. When we're talking about revaluation of their currency or floating of their currency, the Egyptian government agreed to do the same thing that we did with the World Bank. With the World Bank or IMF, that said that they should devalue their currency. But indeed, that they have to do a negotiation with them, telling them, well, we are ready to devalue the currency, but we need you to make an input of liquidity into the system. You have to bring in a lot of liquidity into the system. And they agreed, I think, about $8 billion was to be bring before they would do that floating of their currency. And immediately they did that, and we didn't want to I think about the first day, the currency lost about 50% of its value. And because of that inflow of liquidity that was already in the system, they were able to stabilize it, and the currency has been stable ever since. But look at us, the same policy, we've gone in there, and we see our exchange rate come as high as 1,600, comparable to where it was at the time we flew the naira, which for me is a World Bank policy, was about 700, and today that means we are doing over almost 100% of our exchange rate compared that with Egypt. It boiled down to negotiation. I think that's one area we've been lacking. Even the National Assembly, that is supposed to be to make sure that the guide against overhead function has not done well. Sometimes they approve the loan before they begin to ask of details. Remember the Chinese loan during the time of President Buhari, whereby the loan was already approved before they were now calling in to get details about it. So I think we don't normally do due diligence when it comes to getting those loans, because all we are interested in that, and we need the money for we need the money. We don't look at the devils that are in the details.
And how does this impact, I know you have alluded to it a little bit earlier, how does it impact the fiscal health of the whole nation? Just as long as we get the loan, whatever the cost, we're ready to pay. How do you see all of this impacting Nigeria's fiscal health?
It has impacted our fiscal health very, very well. You said it on debt to servicing is still very, very high compared to how you can you want it to be, and also that have not helped in our exchange rate. We have seen that exchange rate has gone up. By the time we collected this loan in 2020, the exchange rate was about I think about 360 to the dollar, and today in 2025. If we have to pay that, you put that to the naira, that means the exchange rate about 1,000. So that means we are paying more for it, and so that is also affecting us. And again, you have to look at the points that we need to build a lot of infrastructures because of this debt servicing. We are not able to build. We are not able to do that. So what we do is to borrow more money, and then we keep on accumulating more debt. The debt cycles continue. That for me is the greatest challenge, and you've seen the impact also on our exchange rate. which have gone up because we don't have enough liquidity to support the real sector and to stabilize the exchange rate. These are part of the challenges that we are battling with since when we collect this loan without doing the needful that we're supposed to do before we collect. So those are the challenges, and those challenges will continue. If you look at now today, oil benchmark was $75 per barrel for crude oil sale, and today crude oil is selling at approximately $60 per barrel. So you have a shortfall of $15 per barrel, and that is the main driver of our budget. So you need to begin to see that we have a challenge there, and so that means we'll go back in cap in hand in borrowing, and even we are servicing debt. So it becomes a cycle. So we need to look inward. We need to go into the PPP, public-private partnership, which is done globally now, to make sure that we reduce all these debt services and have enough to implement social investment, especially social investment in the area of healthcare and education.
Yeah, I mean, all these things you have said basically allude to some sort of spending problem. The debt cycle goes on, and there's still that infrastructure deficit. As has been pointed out in this conversation, a lot of our money is being spent on debt servicing. The money that we're making is being spent on debt servicing. The question will be, how do we navigate raising revenue, boosting revenue at a time like this? There's debt servicing, and there are all other obligations. All prices are crashing. So, I mean, what are alternatives? Some have alluded to tax, and we know recently the tax reform bill just yesterday was passed. So what are your thoughts on what is going on with taxes to boost revenue, and where else can we look to raise revenue and attend to the deficits?
You say the taxing is one. That tax reform bill is one of the best bills that this administration have had economically, so hopefully that will also boost our revenue, both local and foreign. Remember that the tax reform bill also will affect foreign establishments that are in Nigeria, so definitely that also is something we should look, that could help boost our revenue. So that's one. Then secondly, yes, oil production also should also be some area that we use to boost our revenue. We'll need to look at ways to improve our oil output. The OPEC output is at 1.5 million barrels, and the government targets about 2.06 million barrels per day. So we need to look at ways to improve that. And thirdly, we also have to look at diaspora remittance. And I mean, the CBN have said it last year, and we're still waiting for them to come up with a product that will attract more diaspora to invest in Nigeria, so that with that, we'll be able to earn more in terms of effects coming to our economy, and you know what effects we do to our economy in terms of stabilizing our exchange rate, in terms of bringing down price of imported goods, especially household goods, agricultural goods, food items, which is normally what affect the average Nigeria. And with this, the fourth one is the game changer that I said before. We need to look at the PPP, public-private partnership. I don't see why government should be putting funds in Lagos-Ibadan Expressway. When government knows that road is very busy, you can give into PPP, build, operate, and then get your bid, operate, and then you'll be able to, government will not be spending money there. And so the project itself could be able to, the project itself can pay off its debt. You see that happen in the new international terminal in the airport, and some terminals that are looking at concessions. So I think that is what the government should do, especially the PPP, so that you don't put in so much money. I don't know why the government is putting so much money on the Lagos Calabar coastal road. I think that will be done better if you give it to private sector to build and operate. That will also mean that government will have more funds to do intervention in other areas that will create jobs and bring stability into the Nigerian economy.
Right. And finally, Mr. Muktar Mohammed, we know that you alluded briefly there to what's happening with our exchange rates. Pressures are mounting. Obviously, the naira continues to depreciate. It's now at its lowest point this year, 2025, 1,625 naira to the dollar. What are your thoughts on what's happening with our currency? We were already somewhat boasting of some sort of stability. Is that how it's going to be for the rest of this year or the rest of the quarter, considering some of the factors influencing our exchange rates?
I think at 1,600 is still, I keep saying that the naira is currently undervalued. I don't see how the naira should be estimated for 1,600. budget benchmark is about 1,500. But again, you can't just say that because you just say it, oh, it shouldn't be exchange rate. There are things that will make it drive the stability in that space. And like I said before, now when we're celebrating the exchange rate of 1,500 and 1,550 and 1,450, I said that was a corridor of stability. We've not maintained stability here. When stability comes, where it will remain for the next 1 year to 2 years. And for that to happen, one, like I said, our exports must improve to bring in more effects into the economy. That is especially the crude oil sale. Like I said, we've not been able to meet our quota. Secondly, we have to make our environment more conducive to attract more foreign investors, not just foreign portfolio investors, but not just foreign investors, but also the long-term foreign direct investors into our economy. And for you to do that, you need to bring that exchange rate stability, because no investor wants to come in at 1,600 and exit at 1,700. So a lot of work needs to be done, but to bring that stability there, we need to attract more liquidity into the system. And like you know, and like you have alluded to, it is going to be a tough task, because currently our oil price, which is the key driver of our exchange rate, is far, far below our benchmark.
Indeed. Thank you so much, Muktar Mohammed, CEO of Finance with Muktar. It's been a pleasure getting your perspective on this conversation.